Hello, my name is Andrew Wright, and for this week, as we talk about our research topics and what we bring to the table as far as our research, the thing that I'm going to talk about during my research is the mistreatment of the colonial slaves and how that mistreatment is linked back to religion and how um, a great many people felt that there was justification for the treatment of the colonial slaves simply based off of some religious pretext. I think that the first thing you have to realize is that this is very general. This is a very general statement. Not every single incident was based off religion. Not every single incident had some religious undertones or had some religious backings. Some of it was just people being brutal and being hard and being cold and being vindictive and being evil and mean, whatever word you want to throw in there, just because they could. Regardless of the religious backing to what a lot of what's going on, you always have to point towards the idea of the government, and although the government wasn't obviously set up during this time like it is today, we have to look back at it. Why was it allowed to happen? Why was it allowed to happen? Why was on hundreds of thousands of times people were sent to these places and went and literally took a group of people and decided that they weren't worthy to be free. They weren't worthy to have the liberties that God gave us all. And I think that is the travesty and the tragedy that the colonial slaves had to endure. I know a lot of times there is a misconception that these were all African slaves, and that's just not true. There was many slaves from the Caribbean, but when it comes down to it, it was the slaves of color that had the most brutal mistreatment. Um, and there is not a backing, but there is definitely some religious reasons for that. One of the things I'm going to talk about is how some people, when they read the Bible, they take everything literally, everything, and when you do that. That's why I point out in many of my posts that you cannot use the Bible by itself as a source, because the Bible relies on faith for you to believe a lot of things in there. And that's why I would caution people not to, I mean, to, you need faith to understand the Bible. You need faith to read the Bible. But just from a purely historical standpoint, you can't just use the Bible alone as a source, because there is a lot of holes as far as historical backing of the Bible. And when you talk about in reference to my particular research project, you had people who in the Bible in Genesis it talks about there was a mark left um, on Cain after he killed his brother Abel, and for a lot of people, that mark was a pigment mark, and so you had a lot of people under the impression that, well, the mark that was left on him was a darker color. Now this man was darker than everyone around him, and he was that color was the mark that was left on him, and so all of his ancestors are color, have that dark pigmentation. They're murderers, and they're animals, and they need to be tamed. And obviously that sounds ridiculous for today, but a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that because some people didn't believe in God, or they didn't worship the same God that they did, the slavers in the colonial era, that they needed to be brutalized. And it wasn't just here on American soil. You saw that a lot, um, um, especially with um, the Spanish conquistadors, and their conquering of the Americas, the Central America, and what we know today to be South America, and the brutal treatment. Words are hard to describe how brutally the Spanish treated some of the natives that they found, and their justification was God, but we all know it was greed and malice. But I'm curious to know your opinions about this, and I look forward to speaking with you all this week.